and welcome to episode 6 of Millennials and Podcast. I am Raven and my co-host Law. We're here with episode 6 where we discuss how we grew up. If you've been listening to us, you know that Law is constantly telling me that I grew up a certain way, okay? Of a certain stature, of a certain income level. And I feel like, that may or may not be true. Today, we will find out if him and I really grew up completely different.
And let's just, wait. And let's just be clear. She grew up as the Duchess of LA. That's it. Anyway, continue. Continue.
We're just going to get into these first questions. I'm not going to do these shenanigans with you. Okay, we're going to get into this first question. Okay, so what was the best part about growing up in the 90s and the 2000s?
For me, I think, and I hope everybody else feels the same way, school shopping.
Oh, pinnacle.
Leading up to you about to go back to school, that August time period, early August, you get to go to the store there. I don't care what anybody says. Even that night before you're about to go to school and you get to lay out the clothes that you just bought, you got new shoes. And in my case, I probably had like 3 or 4 new outfits. In Raven's case, she probably had 20. But you probably I had like 3 or 4 outfits, and I can change them around. I can change the shirts up. So I was giddy. I would iron my clothes. Man, listen, I'm ironing everything the night before. It's laid out on the bed. I don't know. There's no other feeling to me that was better than that about growing up, like truthfully. But then also going shopping with your parents. I mean, you only had an allotted amount of money back then. Like it wasn't infinite. So they would like put these parameters on you. My parameters was normally like $200. And $200 when I was little felt like rich.
Yes.
But this $200 is supposed to like span the whole year.
You wasn't going shopping again. You was not going shopping again. It was like.
So this is the thing. I couldn't spend $100 on a pair of Jordans.
Mm-mm.
If you only got $200, you got to make that stretch.
Yeah.
So I was always giddy to figure out the proper deal that was still going to make me look fly. So I think that for me was probably like my favorite thing. What about you?
I would also double down on the school shopping. I used to love to go school shopping. As you have heard on previous episodes, I love to shop. Okay. It's part of my job. But that was like the time. Unlike Law, we did go shopping throughout the year, but school shopping was also like.
We're not grazing over this. Hold on. Did you just say you went shopping throughout the year?
There were times where I had to pick up something or I had to get extra clothes or whatever. Like it wasn't just like a one and done most times.
Were you getting seasonal clothes?
I wasn't really getting seasonal clothes because like there aren't seasons in California really. So like there would be times where I needed like a coat or something like that because it got a little colder. In high school, I definitely went shopping throughout the year.
On whose dime? Your own?
On the parents' dime? Or with my allowance. I would use my allowance on clothes too. So we'll get into allowances in a minute, but I would use my allowance on clothes too.
So hold on. All right. Already out the gate. All right. So you got to go shopping multiple times throughout the year. So does that, and I want to unpack it. Does that mean you got to go buy new shoes if you wanted them? Does that mean you got to go buy new coats if you wanted them? Or was that just like a shirt here or there? Because that's different. If it's just a shirt, okay, cool. But bigger items
much like whatever, like if I needed something, then that's what we would go shopping for. Like if I needed or wanted something, or like both my parents are like shoppers. My dad usually would just like once a year, like I would go shopping with him for school clothes.
Which is normal.
I would get like, maybe I would get something for like Christmas or whatever. But like, because I lived with my mom and she was also a shopper, we would just go shopping. So it was like, okay, well, this is what we're going to do today.
It could just be random is what you just said. Like,
yeah. You'd be like, oh, you want to go to outlets? Okay, let's go to outlets.
Let me tell you what was random about mine. We would randomly go get more food. That's what we would go do. Randomly go get more food. You're not randomly just going to get more clothes. No, I would have to grow out of clothes. Like, what? See this? Y'all missed previous episodes. So I already knew she was rich before we had this conversation, but this just furthers it. You were Hillary Banks.
I was not rich. We weren't rich. I wasn't out here buying Chanel and Gucci. I'm just saying that we went and we would go shopping. Like it may be, okay, I'm going to go to Charlotte Russe, or back in high school, it was like Forever 21.
I would love to know what other people think about this. If you were able to go shopping multiple times throughout the school year, were you not considered well off?
I didn't say we weren't well off. Like I was definitely middle class, but like we weren't rich. There were a lot of things that I wanted. I really wanted them Coach shoes when we was in high school. The ones with all the C's, the little tennis shoes. Could not get those.
Last question on that bit. Did you ever feel like there was a moment where they were just like, absolutely not. We're not gonna, I know you want this thing, but we're not gonna get it because it's just way too expensive. Did they do that to you a lot?
Rarely.
Yo, let's move on. Okay. This conversation is terrible.
Look, I will preface this by saying I didn't say I wasn't spoiled, but we were not rich.
Okay. You had two separate incomes buying you stuff all the time. You were rich. They didn't have to be. You were. For sure. Get out of here. What's your next question? What you got?
Okay. So what, on the flip side of that, what was the worst thing about growing up in the 90s and 2000s?
Can I do two things or no?
Do whatever your heart's desire.
All right. The first thing was lack of technology.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
I think in all fairness, we really didn't have as much as I thought we had technologically. We just weren't advanced at all.
But I feel like the things that we had, we really liked. As much as it's not like Apple Arcade, my Tamagotchi was the business. Okay. Like,
but compare your Tamagotchi to anything that you can do on a cell phone right now, or a laptop or tablet.
Could hook to my belt. You know what I'm saying? That was like my child in this little egg-shaped device. Okay, that was the shit. Tamagotchi was everything.
Like, I'll just say this much: the idea of not having a map on my phone, easily disposable, and I get into high school, and if you have a vehicle, yes, you needing to know that you need to print off the MapQuest directions is ridiculous. So that is one of the worst. Printed always. That's one of the worst. And I think the other thing that was bad is when you live with your parents, we get all to be honest about this. You do not get to control anything. You are not in control of anything. They control when you do everything, and they get to control the larger decisions that are being made. So yeah, that was the worst part because I was a kid, you know? What about you? I would say for me, dial-up internet. Jesus of the Nazareth. When I tell you dial-up internet was the slowest thing ever in life, like everything else, you know, text messaging was a pain. We lived through it. I feel like it was like the stepping stone of things we had to do. But that dial-up internet, if we could have just skipped through dial-up internet to Wi-Fi, it would have been amazing. Okay? Because all of that, and like you can't be on the phone at the same time. It would take 20 minutes just to get connected to the internet. Kids don't know how good they have it. I agree with you. I think the thing about dial-up internet that was actually amusing to me more than anything is we really thought we were doing something though. Oh, definitely. Like all of us thought it was, yo, you got that new AOL CD? Because if you got the new upgraded version, like 2.3 versus 2.1. First of all, AOL dropped CDs like they were on a record label, okay? The amount of AOL CDs I had in my house, ridiculous, okay? Ridiculous. Not a fan of the whole AOL thing though, but I don't know why we all thought it was that deal, but we did. What else you got? Did you have chores growing up? And if so, what were they? Okay, not only did I have chores, but see, here's going to be a huge separation between us. There was a list on my wall in my room telling me everything I was supposed to do prior to going to school, and a list for when I get back. In your room? Absolutely. And in fact, the list was a neon poster board marked up by my mom, letting me know you need to do these things before you do anything else. And if these things are not done, I want to let you know some things will be done to you.
Ooh, Chile.
So did I have chores? Absolutely. Everything, whether it's sweeping the floor, mopping the floor, washing clothes, washing dishes, or for that matter, mowing the lawn, whatever it is, it needs to get done.
You had to do all that?
And nobody should be having to tell you that it needs to be done because you have a whole list in your room telling you that it should be done.
You had a neon sign.
Oh, yeah. There are no games being played in that house.
Wait, are you an only child?
No, me and my sister.
Oh, okay. Oh, Lord.
What did you got? Any chores?
So I did have chores.
Why does that sound like you still had one? You said it plural, but it sounded like you had one chore. Like, what did you do?
So at my dad's house, I was like the dishwasher. I hated it because it would be like they piled up the dishes all week and then waited for me to arrive to be like, wash the dishes. I didn't even dirty up none of these dishes. Like, are you serious right now? It used to irk the hell out of me.
Let me ask you this though, because this is some real Black family stuff. Did they have a washer? Did they have a washer? Like a place where you can actually put the dishes, a dishwasher, like a proper dishwasher? Did they have one? And if they did they use it? Because this is the thing that Black households, most white people don't understand. Black people will own full dishwashers and never use it. They'll just use it to put the dishes in there to dry off. They'll just let them dry out there.
I'm pretty sure we had a dishwasher because my dad still lives in the same house and they have a dishwasher. So I don't know. He still don't use a dishwasher. Like very
Black parents, please explain to me this. Why would you own a dishwasher and not allow the kids to use it? It makes no sense.
He said, because you the dishwasher. That was his answer, because you the dishwasher. And I said, okay. So at my mom's house, my primary residence, my chore was to vacuum. Never happened though. So technically, I didn't have any chores at my mom's house.
Exactly my point. So no chores at one house and one chore at another. Truthfully, your one chore was to do dishes.
I had a chore. It just never got done by me.
Ma'am, you had one chore. You know the meme? Like you had one job? Literally, that's you.
I think I also had to take out the trash or something maybe at one point. I don't remember. But I remember vacuuming for sure.
Okay, so you had 3 chores. Take out the trash. I hate it here so much. My mama would have worked you to the bone. You so lucky.
My dad was furious that I didn't have more chores, but clearly he couldn't enforce anything at my house because he don't live there. So, but my mom's response was she wasn't raising me to be like an
adult? A responsible adult?
What she said was, I think it was something about like, I'm not raising her to be like subservient to no man or something like that. In like retrospect, it didn't really teach me like adulting skills. So,
oh my God.
Moral of the story, give your kids chores, guys.
I mean, respectfully.
So I did have to keep my room clean. I didn't really do that, but I did have to keep my room clean.
That means you didn't have to keep your room clean if you didn't actually do it. Nothing you just said checks out. Listen, I get it. You grew up middle class or rich, and then you didn't have chores, and you got everything you wanted so far. So just making sure everybody's keeping up with the tally. Continue. I know there's more questions. I mean, this is amazing. Clearly, we had just separate upbringings.
Okay, so what did your parents refer to your friends as? Like your group of friends or the friends that you would have come to the house?
All the time, forever and ever and ever, my friends were always known as you and your little friends. It's always you and your little friends. It was never anybody's name unless they really got to know them. Oh, what you and your little friends doing? And don't let you start like talking to somebody that you actually like. Ooh, your little friend called today? Why is everybody a little friend? And calling somebody a little inherently is a negative.
My mother definitely called my little friends until she like knew someone's name, and then she would be like, "Oh, that's so and so girl." Like it was always like their name and then girl, which I didn't really understand. It's like it's just the name. We just got to say the name, and then but she would
Give
like
me an example of how
randomly.
that sounds, because I'm confused.
So she would be like, "Oh, she's like, you going out with that like Sarah girl? Oh, you going out like?" And I was like, "It's just Sarah. I'm just going out with Sarah. Not the Sarah girl. I'm just going out with Sarah."
I would
But
love to see how your mom would handle pronouns. Your mom
she
would struggle with pronouns. Like,
whole nother subject, okay? But she also just like would remember random ass people. She would remember that boy Brian from second grade who hurt your feelings, and I'm like, what? Like, how do you remember his name and everything? Like, she will. That's how crazy it is. She'll remember someone to a T. That and I'm just like, why do you remember this person?
that just makes no sense to me, but okay.
It don't make no sense to me either. But
I think that does happen though. Like, imagine you maybe you like somebody in third grade. For some reason, your parents will like pierce that into their skull. You could be in eighth grade, ninth grade, you could be in high school, and they're like, "Hey, remember when you used to like Siobhan?" You're like, Siobhan and I haven't even been in school in almost a decade. What are you talking about?
No, that's my mother. She literally just like recently asked me about some boy that I barely talked to in college. Like I had a crush on him. We had a little tete-a-tete or whatever. And she was like, "How's he doing?" I don't know. According to Facebook, this is what's going on with his life. Like, what? But she could not, for the life of her, remember my boyfriend's name. And I was with him for over a year. Confusing. It's giving confusion. And I think she remembered his name. She was like, ma'am, how do you even know his name?
I'm not gonna disrespect your mom. I'm not.
That's craziness to me.
I'll leave it at that. Yes.
Okay. Were you ever scared during a parent-teacher conference?
Absolutely. Absolutely. So when I was in school, especially grade school, I was a talker. Even now I'm a talker, right? But I was the jokester. I was the clown in the room. And I got good grades and everything, but I always knew like the thing that was my downfall was a good conversation. Yeah. Right. And even better is a good joke. So between those two things, I can always get those off in a group setting. And I couldn't help but to like make sure that that was happening. I loved a good banter. And teachers can't wait to snitch and be like, well, all he does during the class is talk. He distracts other students.
Pull him away. Mm-hmm.
I'm a distraction to other students because I'm getting my work done early. You got to give me better work.
Oh, my better work.
And so that was an issue. But outside of that, like, I didn't worry about it because my grades were always good. But it was the idea of me needing to like suppress my wanting to be talkative. That sucked every time because I knew I was going to get in trouble for that. I knew. But what about you?
I don't think I was super worried during parent-teacher conferences, like, or those like back to school nights or whatever they were called. I didn't really have too many like those one-on-ones where it's like, oh, I gotta call your mother, or let's have this like outside of the back to school nights, you know, or like the regular scheduled ones. I wasn't too afraid. My mother literally was always on my side. So like I never had any kind of issues with anything. Like,
damn, you talked about the mom like she was nationwide. You were like, mom is always on my side. Okay.
She was. Look, I can tell you stories about things that I have found out. I literally just found out probably in the last like 5 years that my mother got the school nurse fired because she would not help me with my nosebleed. Okay. Like, you guys were raised by Karens. I was raised by April. Okay. April didn't know those things. Not with her child. When I found this out, I said, Mom, what was she supposed to do? Like, there literally is nothing for her to do medically for a nosebleed besides give me some tissue and send me back to class. Her response was, she should have done something.
I agree. I agree to these terms.
I said, okay.
That's not, as a parent, when I become one, I'm going to be the same because I'm not about to play about that. Anyway, I don't want to go.
It's a nosebleed. There's nothing you could do. There's literally nothing you could do besides give me a tissue. A Tylenol isn't gonna stop it. She wanted the woman to cauterize my arteries and my nose or something. Like, there's literally nothing you could do. So
I hate that for you though. I seriously do. But
anyway.
anyway.
I knew I could call her if something went wrong in school. I could call her right up and we got it done.
April was on it.
Okay. So next up, this is a good one. What was your curfew? Okay. As a kid versus like in high school, what time did you have to be in the house?
I feel like all Black kids have the same curfew.
Yeah.
I do. Like, basically, before the street lights come on, you need to be in the house. That's not an argument. You don't get to like get around that. You got to be in the house. And if you're not in the house, don't make them look for you. Do not make them look for you. You don't want that smoke. But as a high schooler, I think it was really just make sure that we know where you at and don't come in. Like, if you came in at 12, you knew you was in trouble. Like that, you just couldn't come in at 12. You couldn't come in at 11. You couldn't come in at 12. So basically like 9, 10-ish, you can't come in at a point where your parents are asleep. That's essentially what it boiled down to. If my parents were asleep, and they would have been like,
even as a senior,
they ain't play like that.
Okay.
You play like that. You have to be in the house.
Okay.
They don't want to have to be asking you where you at. Tell me what happened with you, Richie Rich.
First of all, so when I started driving, my curfew was what the curfew was for California. And I think it was midnight. I think that's what time people had to, like, if you were underage, you had to be in the house by this time.
April was fine with you pulling up to the house at 11:59.
Yes, because we did not miss curfew.
I'm gonna let you continue, but absolutely not. Not in Anna's house. Not in Gregory's house.
So after that, okay, I had to talk to my uncle and like beg and plead him to plead my case because my cousins did not have a curfew at all. They would stay out till 3, 4 o'clock in the morning, child. So I was like, I'm very confused. We are all in the same family and I gotta be home by midnight unless I'm spending the night with y'all. You know
what Anna's response would have been to that? Them kids ain't in my house. I mean, the conversation is over. Continue though.
So my mom, she just could not fathom why I wanted to be out past 12 because, you know, in her book, the only thing that's open after 12 is legs. And I think there was one other one. So she was like, I don't understand it. And so I ended up getting my curfew extended, I think, until 2. But it couldn't be a school night. But I was able to get it extended to 2 o'clock.
What age were you when you got your curfew extended to 2 a.m.?
Probably 17.
Nah, Anna and Gregory wouldn't let that happen. If I showed up in the house at 2 a.m., I may as well stay out of the house. They're not letting me in the house like that. That is not happening. You are outside of your mind. I told you, if I was to show up that late, I wake them up, because that's another thing.
Yeah.
So like, my mom worked early shift, right? She has to be at work by 6 a.m. Mm-hmm. Imagine me coming in at 2 a.m., waking her up just before she has to wake up. All hell is breaking loose in this house. Yeah, it's just not happening.
Saturdays?
You know, my mom could work any day of the week.
Oh.
You just lived a very privileged lifestyle. And I love that this is exposing that, because keep going.
It was just, we went to like teen parties and stuff. So like
teen party. A teen party. My parents would have been like, I don't care if it's Teen Summit on BET. You're not about to be out till 2 a.m. Like, what? 2 a.m.? You think it's okay to come into the house at 2 a.m.? What do you own in here that makes you feel that way? Like, they would be asking me real questions. Like, what is it that changed your mind that made you think that you could come into the house this late?
Oh my gosh. I have like, it's literal tears. Yeah, I don't know. It's like very weird because I'm like, why was the teen, because it was like a teen club. It wasn't really like, it was like a party, but it was always at like a club. So it was just like, why were the teen parties going to 2 a.m.? But I guess they were. So, and they was in LA.
My mom would have straight up told you, ain't nothing out at 2 a.m. other than the devil. She would have said it with a straight face.
My mom was probably thinking the same thing, like, this girl. And I was like, sometimes we just want to go out to eat afterwards. Like,
No, absolutely
you know,
not. Absolutely. I
so
told you, your life was litty, clearly.
it was a lot of things I couldn't do as well. Okay. It was a lot of things I couldn't do. Okay. So speaking of friends and whatnot, were you allowed to go to sleepovers or have sleepovers at your house?
Was I allowed to have sleepovers? I would say this much. Yeah, like depends on the friend group though. Like if my mom knows your mom and dad and my dad knows your mom and dad, yeah, they might let that rock. But if they don't know them, hell no, absolutely not. And my parents are suspicious of people, like real suspicious. I'm speaking as if I'm them.
Yeah.
I don't want to be responsible for somebody's child that I don't know.
Okay.
Not only that, but I also don't want to be put in a position where your child brings something around us that we didn't have before. So like, let's say your child has drugs on them. Don't bring that in my house.
Yep.
Let's say y'all got roaches. Don't bring that in my house.
Definitely don't bring that in my house.
You see what I'm saying? Like, and they need to know what y'all trying to bring in their house.
Yes.
And if your kids is bad, are you comfortable with us disciplining them? Because let me tell you something, they're gonna be talking back to me. That's it. So it really depends on if they knew them. What about you though?
So I was able to go to sleepovers. I wouldn't say it was like often, but I was able to go on sleepovers. My mother had to know the person, okay, had to have met them, their parents, all of that whole situation. And it was just so embarrassing because my friends, their parents were not doing none of that. So I was like, oh my gosh. And if they came to my house, she's like, well, I need to meet her mother. I need her to know where I'm at. I need to give her the phone number. And I'm like, oh my God. Like her mother literally just said she could come over. Why are you being the overbearing parent? So that's how April was.
Let's be clear. You may do the same thing if you have a child. For real.
There are certain people's houses they ain't going over. We already know that. No, I totally understand now, what the precautions were. Back then, I was like, why are you being so extra? Because my friends' parents weren't like that. It was different. But now, I'm like,
why are you being rude to me?
Okay. I was just like, okay, it's fine. But my mother welcomed my friends coming to the house. She loved when I had sleepovers. She loved the whole thing. She wasn't one of those like moms that was like, coming out trying to hang out with us, but she just loved seeing me with my friends and like making snacks. And like my friends loved coming to my house because we had all the snacks and my mom cooked and like all that stuff. So they're like, you got the good snacks. And my mom's like, I've literally had people come to my house when I was not home and ask for food.
Absolutely not.
They're like, are you home? They were like, that food was like really good. I was like, oh, you can just go up, just ask my mom. She'll probably give it to you.
No. Shout out April, but Anna is not April. They have a Karen, you have an April, I have an Anna. No, never.
It was very like select things where it was like, okay, yes, you can go hang out with this person. I don't know their parents, so no, or I have to meet their parents and all of that stuff. So yeah. So we have learned so much, even in this short amount of questions that we have asked in this episode. But I feel like this is only the tip of the iceberg. There's so many more questions that we have, so much more that we have to learn about each other. And you guys will not want to miss part 2, episode 7 of how we grew up. So come back for that. Bye.